Welcome to the Conservation Learning Center's 2021 Virtual Field Day. We are once again releasing a series of videos showcasing our demonstrations and research projects here at the CLC. Thank you to our sponsors, the Saskatchewan Wheat Development Commission and the Saskatchewan Flax Development Commission. And a big thank you to all of our funders who support research here at the CLC. We're going to head over to our project on the influence of potassium fertilizer on the yield and seed quality of malt barley and spring wheat. It is a one-year ADOPT-funded project that is made possible through the Canadian Agricultural Partnership. Many potassium fertilization trials have been conducted in Saskatchewan throughout the years, but the majority of them have failed to see a grain yield response to potassium. This is because Saskatchewan soils tend to be abundant in potassium, so we don't often see a yield response. However, soils in the grey soil zones of Saskatchewan and very light textured soils are often low in potassium, so farmers in these areas are much more likely to see a yield response to potassium fertilizer. So various studies in the black, dark brown, and brown soil zones of Saskatchewan, where the soils are typically abundant in potassium, have concluded that on average you'll see a yield response to potassium in 2 of 5 years with seed-placed potassium in barley, and 1 in 5 years with seed-placed potassium in wheat. So it is often thought that there's not really any purpose to applying potassium fertilizer because most of our soils are already sufficient in potassium. But there might be other beneficial effects to applying potassium. Some studies have found disease suppression, an increase in the plumpness of the kernels, and decreases in lodging. So that is why the objectives of this study are to evaluate the effects of potassium fertilizer rate and placement on the yield, seed quality, and characteristics of malt barley and spring wheat. And we also plan on evaluating crop lodging. So in plants, potassium regulates cellulose production, and an adequate uptake of potassium has been found to decrease lodging. So we are using potassium chloride, otherwise known as potash, in this study. For both spring wheat and barley, the treatments will be exactly the same. So behind me here are the treatments for this trial. It is different rates of potassium fertilizer and whether they are seed-placed or side-banded. So treatment 1 is our control, and it has 0 kilograms of potassium per hectare, which is seed-placed. And treatment 2 has 10 kilograms of potassium per hectare seed-placed. Treatment 3 has 20 kilograms of potassium per hectare seed-placed, and treatment 4 is 30 kilograms of potassium per hectare seed-placed. Treatment 5 is 10 kilograms per hectare of potassium side-banded. Treatment 6 is 20 kilograms of potassium per hectare side-banded. Treatment 7 is 30 kilograms of potassium per hectare side-banded. And finally, treatment 8 is 20 kilograms per hectare of potassium seed-placed and 40 kilograms of potassium per hectare side-banded. And nitrogen and phosphorus were applied as per soil test recommendations and were side-banded. This trial was seeded with the CLC Fabro plot seeder that has double disc openers and 10-inch row spacing. It was seeded on May 27th. Wheat and barley were seeded about 1.25 inches deep, and fertilizer was side-banded about 2.25 inches deep. This trial was sprayed with the post-emergent herbicide Divel, and the reason that we chose Divel was because we've had a lot of issues with the weed cockle, and Divel was one of the only herbicides that's able to suppress that weed. So the varieties that were used in the study were CDC Churchill Barley and AEC Cameron Varietal Blend Wheat. CDC Churchill Barley is a newly registered variety that is high yielding of malt barley, and it is not yet commercially available. It is still undergoing seed propagation and commercial market development. Both barley and wheat were seeded at a rate of 300 plants per meter squared. The conditions here at the CLC have been relatively hot and dry. The month of May, we had a really wide range of temperatures. So on May 4th, we had a minimum low temperature of minus 6.2 degrees Celsius, so that was kind of like our fall spring, whereas on May 17th we had a maximum high temperature of 32 degrees Celsius. And we received almost no rain until May 24th, where we received 1 inch. So when we seeded this trial, we did have adequate soil moisture. And then the month of June was also very hot. We did receive a normal amount of precipitation for us of about 80 millimeters, but overall from January to June 2021, it has been the driest year that has been recorded at the CLC over the past 10 years. So we could definitely do with a rain. Thank you everyone for joining me on our virtual field day. And if you want to learn more details and the results of this trial and others at the CLC, you can visit our website where we post reports of all of our trials.